Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.
We're going back to back. Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks
Basketball Podcast.
I am your host, Freddie Rivas. And who, sir, are you?
I'm the producer, Matt Duncan. Hails from Scotland.
Oh, wow. How are
Once upon a time. Doing okay, hanging in there. It's just waking up every day like Michael Bublé.
Oh, wow. What a rhyme too, eh? Well, Matt, let's get the important goods out of the way. If people, they want to help us, check us out, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Where can they find?
Just go to our website, dunkspodcast.com. We've got all our links there for all the different ways that you can support us. So, please check it out and just have a click and it'll take you to where you need to go.
Right on. And before we jump kind of into the podcast, it's a really fun episode. We talk a lot about the Raptors perspective, what Fred VanVleet had to say to the media. Obviously the players testing positive with COVID. 3 on the Pelicans. I think 5 or 6 now on the Nets.
Whoa.
And just kind of this just confusing, stressful time. But before we kind of launch into that, we want to be clear about, who we are as people and where we're coming from as a podcast. And the motion to defund police by Councillor Matlow did not pass. And in fact, what did pass was I believe $30 million increase for body cams, which have largely proven to be ineffective. So, the battle's not over, and we got to keep fighting for this defund the police cause. It's really important to keep the Black and brown community members in our communities safe. It's really frustrating. So, if your city councilor was someone who voted on the wrong side of history, let them know.
Yeah.
If there's someone who voted no for this, let them know and tell them that not only are they going to lose your vote, they're going to lose your friends and family's vote. And this single issue is why.
Yeah.
Sorry, a little bit of a
absolutely
rant there, but yeah, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add.
Toronto is, they are the biggest city in Canada, and like it would have been a really huge thing for them to kind of light the way for everybody else and all the smaller communities for something like that to pass. And it's not like it was the bare minimum thing. It was a 10% decrease. Wasn't that it?
Yeah, it was 10%. It was 10%. Barely anything.
Yeah. So it's like $100,000 or whatever. It's just,
it was actually quite big because their budget's massive. So I think it was like 150 million.
Oh, 100. Yes, right. Yeah, that's right.
But yes, yeah.
$150 million, which is a lot, but they have a really huge budget. And yeah, I mean, I don't live in the city anymore, but you gotta, those counselors, you gotta hold them accountable for this. And
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's not forget, and let's not stop fighting. And we'll continue to process this, and just fight where you can, and
support how
do what you can.
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
On. Cool. Let's jump into this episode, Matt. Let's talk some basketball and everything around it, and Raptors and everything around that. And Matt, if you think this is all okay, just say the words okay.
Okay.
Okay, now that I know this meeting is being recorded, I'm so excited to bring in my very first guest. She's been on the show a bunch of times. She's an amazing podcaster, amazing writer. She's a specialist in all things feelings. She was in Las Vegas when there was the giant earthquake. She has a million cool, amazing credits and is super, super talented. Give it up as loud as you can for Katie Heindl.
Nice. My music. I love it.
I know. I thought maybe I would dance more, but then I was like, I got this coffee right now, and I'm
You
like,
guys were bopping. It's all right.
I was bopping.
How's it going? Thanks for having me back.
I'm doing pretty good, hanging in there, I guess.
Yeah.
Thanks for being back. How are you? Are you doing okay?
I'm good. I'm very busy. I kind of thought I would have a little bit of a lull leading up to season start, but it's going to just be like a chaotic dovetail into more. So that's okay.
Wow. Yeah. It's good to be busy.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like it's trending that way where it's kind of like equal parts extremely busy and scary.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah. And I think now your workday is just like, we were saying just before we started recording, it can be anytime, all the time.
Yeah. Work is all the time. Play is never. And you just gotta find the happiness in the margins. Yeah, that was so bleak. I actually thought they'd be like would have a bit more of like pizzazz and maybe be a bit funnier. So to the listener, trust me, I'm more optimistic than that. Let's bring our guest number 2. We were actually in an improv collective together before this pandemic thing got going, and we're buds. We're huge basketball fans. He's hilarious. He's at home right now on break from work, but I guess work is all the time. So breaks all the time. I don't know. This is a sloppy intro. Give it up for Randall Morales.
Oh, lower music.
This is you working all the time. This song.
Oh, this is for my working montage video.
How you doing, man? Thanks for coming on.
Good, man. Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Is there a lot of new stuff going on in your world, or you just kind of working, plugging away?
Yeah, I'm in the phase of learning how to play the guitar.
Oh, that's cool.
And also photography.
Also photography. So are you
right?
Are you better at photography or guitar so far? Are you like Nick Nursing it on guitar, or are you kind of like?
No, not at all. For the guitar part, I'm just trying to get like my fingers to cooperate. So
okay, so if the Arkells were like,
I'm not even producing.
But you know the band the Arkells, if they were like, we need you to step in, could you?
No, unless
honestly,
it's air guitars.
I think you could, man. I just think you just like. Just go for it.
Let them start a little bit, less fresh, like Sloan or something.
Sloan? Come on. Sloan's the top of the tops. Don't mess around with me on Sloan. Okay?
I don't agree with that, but
listen, Sloan, we'll bring it up another time, but let's get going on, I guess, all things NBA, all things Raptors. Maddie, if you got that Raptor sting, would you give it to me? It really is a lot cooler with like watching you mouth all of those sound effects that you did.
Yeah. I mean, cool. I got to have some fun over here too,
You got to have some fun. Okay, I thought I'd just start kind of right in the belly of the beast here. And I'm going to read some of Fred's quotes from his interview with Eric Green of The Athletic. Because I feel like, FVV is a good place to start for us. Me and him share the same name, and he always speaks from the heart. And I think he has a kind of a lot of different and interesting points. So if you just give me a sec here. So this is just in response to basically in response to, going to Orlando and being in Orlando. So it sucks. It's terrible timing, but that's been 2020 for us. We all know the right thing to do is not to play, to take a stand. Morally, yes, that makes sense. But life goes on. We're all young Black guys. None of us want to give any money back. I don't think that we should. I think that money can be used in a number of different ways. Another quote, this is not going to end this summer regardless, or over the next couple of months. The issue, racial injustice, social injustice, police brutality, all these things are not ending anytime soon. Our fight was long-term. That was part of my decision. But if the league, any more of my guys would have come together and said we didn't want to play, I would have sat out as well. I wouldn't have even fought it. I think most of us decided to play. It's something we'll have to live with. I trust that my heart's in the right place and I'm doing enough to make change. And then there's a few more quotes here as well. And this is in reference to kind of like how it feels, being there. It sounded good about a month or two ago, Van Vliet said to reporters in a conference call on Monday regarding the league's plans. And he said, another quote, not so much right now before we get ready to leave. And then this one kind of hurt me. I've been gone a week and I miss my kids already. And then there's two more here. I definitely respect guys that took the stand to sit out for whatever reason, but my choice was to come play. I'm not right and they're not wrong. It's just a personal choice for everybody. I understand that around the league, there's been some positive tests and they're trying to get ahead of that now so that we are actually in the bubble. Hopefully everything will be okay. I'm trying to be optimistic about it. It's not the most ideal situation, but it's kind of the times we are in. It hasn't been ideal for anyone. So maybe I'll start with you. Randall. Just kind of like hearing, we've heard a lot of quotes from obviously like, Wojnarowski, Lowe, Silver. Obviously Kyrie was big in the news, those conference calls, but we're kind of hearing something from one of our representatives right now. So, I'm just throwing it to you. Like, what's that? What is that kind of like drumming up in you?
Well, first of all, I like to say that I think if there's a player that would best be the spokesperson for the Raptors, it probably would be Fred. And regarding his statements, no, I agree. I feel like he's in support of the players who want to make a stand. But again, I'm not really sure what the money side of it is. Particularly not only with just the players, but with the staff and all the people involved. So that I think kind of plays a role into his decision to continue.
Well, and I think any player is going to have to, if it's like, hey, it's fine if you don't come, but you don't get money. That's like not exactly, an honest like representation. It's not exactly a great way to present a question, right? Because it's kind of like there's a consequence then if I don't come.
Right.
But sorry, I'm just saying like I'm not exactly sure of all the ins and outs of the money details either, and I for sure think that would be like vital to any type of decision making. But sorry, I just kind of was tagging on your point.
Right. Also, in addition, like I feel like if enough people would sit out and the season would not continue, then even more people would be affected, financially speaking. So that's the financial side. But then there's so much more to consider. Obviously the safety and health of their family and relatives. That's something that needs to be considered too. Same with obviously the Black Lives Matter movement.
Of course.
So I like where Fred's at.
He's being honest. I think it's a confusing situation. Yeah. I think he feels reluctance, hearing that he's missing his kids already. And it's like, oh, wow, this is going to go on, or it's supposed to be, I think 94 days. So yeah, it's all pretty intense. And we're kind of like thinking through this in somewhat real time. So, Katie, I'll jump to you. How does I know you love Fred. How does kind of hearing him open up make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Randall. I think for the Raptors spokesman, he's sort of the perfect one for that role. And like to your point, this is the first that we've heard from players pretty directly. Like we've heard from when Kyrie was, kind of speaking at the helm of the NBPA. We've heard from other players. I don't know whether it was mostly on Twitter, I feel like, but to hear this directly from Fred, I mean, it's like, I'm pretty torn about it because I'm still not really on board with the bubble just because they were never able to nail down the plan or logistics early on. And now there's no way they'll actually be able to do that just because of the situation, not just, within the league, but in Florida. Adam Silver, not very long ago today, just said he'll be coming and going from the bubble. So
I just read that.
There's weird things like that. Bubble? And he's not going to be quarantining on for 2 weeks on either side of that. So there's a lot of allowances that I don't know whether they I don't know. It's just that it doesn't really properly accounted for, or maybe could account for, which is why I think it's not the best idea still. But the Fred, it's kind of gutting. From what I've
great word, yes.
From what I've seen from just how he spent the last 2.5 months, he loves being at home with his family. He's got 2 young kids. They're at the stage in their life where they're not going to be the same when he gets home. Totally. Just in terms of their physical growth and their emotional growth. I think there was something he said the first day they got there, I think it was his daughter couldn't sleep. So they called him, his wife and his daughter called him. Oh my God.
And that's even
I know. And he talked to her and then she was able to go to sleep, but just, they're so used to him being home now too. Their routines are off as well. And I mean, I know he's just one player, but he's our special guy. Feel totally it's just tough. You see, it sort of puts it into a very Toronto-centric perspective for us, I think. And we can see all the, every time it seems like there's a positive for this bubble, there's a negative one to match it. And I think you see that on a really personal level with what's going on with Fred. And another thing we haven't really talked about yet is the money thing's one thing, but he's also in a contract year. So I think there are the implications of that as well, whether he decided to play or sit out. Bertans is sitting out and he's in a contract year, but Fred is doing the opposite. So, and he's also on a team that, is wanting to come back for a 2-peat. So I get it, but just it's such an imperfect situation that it's just kind of exhausting and depressing to talk about and think about.
It is. And also I'll add to that. I mean, this is just my personal point of view, but I feel it's also been kind of this mental battle figuring out the relevancy and how exactly to comment on a sport you love that has, massive cultural implications and is more than just a sport in so many different ways. And I don't even mean that in the cliche. I mean that it's it's a massive thing in the world, basketball. It's bigger than the NBA. It's way bigger than the NBA. And it's I'm not really trying to drive this conversation towards do it for the sake of sport, because I don't buy that at all. I think that actually lessens the point, in my opinion, when people talk like that. But I don't know. It's just it's a pretty messy time, and I really connected with that Fred statement because he's just coming from a lot of different angles. There's pain there. He's excited. He wants to compete. It's he didn't mention it's his contract year, but it's his contract year. Fred's theoretically headed towards a pretty big payday. It's just quite a bit, and it's evolving quickly. Let's kind of go in the past a little bit, even though it's also the present. I'll stay with you, Katie. Vince Carter officially announced his retirement. That I think every Raptors fan, big time Raptors fan has really strong feelings about Vince. You should. And I'm just curious where you're at with his retirement, because his career went on for a long time. So how do you remember him? Is this, did this register for you amidst everything that's going on? Or is it just like, yeah, sorry, Vince, I'll process this later, or,
It did register for sure. I just kind of was a bit almost like sad for him. I wish he could have had it, in a more consistent season, to like, I guess, like go out as strongly as he could, but it was also his call. So I think, a part of him maybe understood things probably aren't going to be normal or as he kind of knew them next season or the season after that. So I think like the thing about Vince Carter is he's whether you like it or not, whether it like directly really hurt you, he's very good about picking his moments for like these kinds of decisions, right? And like big career decisions. And this isn't any different from that. I mean, the guy's been playing basketball for like one more year than he, like in his life, he spent more time now playing basketball than he hasn't. And just like, there's something wild. So like astounding and like really important about that we don't really talk about. Like I was just talking about this with Dylan today, but just like how Vince Carter has been like, you look at how the impact, like Lowry had a really beautiful statement about what he meant to him. And now Lowry is considered a vet, but then you also look at, 2 generations under Lowry, like he's been this kind of figurehead vet, like umbrella vet almost for now, like 3 generations of hoopers. And I think like that is so rare and like so cool.
Totally. Yeah.
And like very powerful. And I mean, I don't like
umbrella vet. I love that. Sorry. It's great. Sorry.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I was never, I guess I don't know why, but I never had like a personal vendetta against him when he left. I know a lot of people do, and I don't fault them for it. I think it's like, it really personally hurt a lot of people. But I'm, on me, I'm more for like the player autonomy side of things.
Yeah, right.
And then look at what an impact he had, like, I mean, this is just like blue skying it a little bit, but look at the impact he then was able to have like across the league much more largely. And then you can also say, look at the impact he had on like basketball in Canada. We wouldn't have anything really we have now if we hadn't had him.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. His impact is so massive. And I think even when people talk about his impact on basketball in Canada, it's often undersold, I feel. Yeah, it's nice kind of hearing your perspective on Vince. I knew it would be great, obviously. And the umbrella vet is such a good encapsulation, I think, of like what he was able to achieve. And earlier today, I listened to the Open Floor episode with Rob Mahoney and Ben. I can't remember his last name, but Open Floor. It'll pop my head later. But and they were kind of like talking about Vince Carter. And what struck me was that although they had lots of good points, they kind of came down the same path that everyone, or not everyone, but so many people come down with Vince, which is they can't get past that he was a Michael Jordan mold and he's a disappointment to them. And so many people look at his career as a disappointment. It's kind of like measured against the lack of rings, no finals appearances, kind of like some high profile losing in some scenarios. But I just think that's the wrong way to look at his career. It's so unique. I mean, for me, it's kind of like an expectations thing. I think Vince is a perfect player. You can kind of like look like in a petri dish. It's like, this is someone who at every single point of his career, he did what he wanted to do and dealt with expectations that were largely unfair, whether that's like being all defensive player because he's athletic, or whether that's he shouldn't shoot the 3 because he should dunk more, and he was ahead of the time in that regard. Or like the way he kind of became a role player later in his career, or even he didn't even ring chase. He played for all these kind of like bottom feeder teams and valued himself in that. Obviously his decision to get his degree before Game 7, like so much of Vince's career is just like classy in the face of kind of like judgment. Anyways, sorry, Randall, I hope we didn't take all of the points away from how you feel about Vin. Sorry. Yeah. How do you feel about like, I know you're a bit younger than me, but like, yeah, like, did you like, where are you at with Vince and his retirement?
My reaction with Vince's retirement is this.
Oh yeah. You're done with him?
No, I'm clapping and giving a standing ovation.
Oh, I thought you were doing what am I even trying to say? Like smacking the crumbs off your finger?
Something like that. Yeah. It looked like that on the camera.
Okay. Standing O. Sorry. Very different.
I was trying to make the sound as accurate as possible. But yeah, no, he has a probably one of the biggest impact, not only for Raptors basketball, but in Canadian basketball. I think what we have now with Toronto and the Raptors would not exist if Vinsanity didn't happen. And I'll rewatch his documentary.
Wait, have you already watched it or are you going to rewatch it, you said?
Yes, I'll rewatch it. I already saw it.
Nice.
So good.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've been trying to look it up during part of this conversation. I can't seem to find it, but I feel like I know most of the games. Anyways, I just want to kind of briefly touch on the Raptors schedule. I mean, we'll see what happens, obviously. But
Freddie, can I ask a question before we
Sure.
move on
Yeah.
about Vince? Do you think he's done with basketball, or will we see him in a different kind of role? Maybe in broadcasting, something like that, management, coaching.
That's I think he'd excel in a lot of areas.
I would love to see him coach.
Right.
Yeah, it will, and yeah, coaching would be cool. I think he'd knock broadcasting out of the park.
Yeah.
He also, my brother Miguel told me this like Reddit stat where he's played with, I think, just over 39% of every single player that's ever played in the NBA. Sorry, played with or against. Like been in the NBA at the same time, which is just wild.
Yeah.
And it kind of like brings me right back to like the umbrella vet. Like, I don't know. I feel like they should make up a role for him called the umbrella vet, which I don't know. I don't know if he's like some form of like the giver for the NBA. Like you can go to him and you like can hold their secrets or whatever. Sorry, you know what? I'll bring the giver out of this.
He opens like a basketball monastery on top of a mountain somewhere, and then that's where rookies can go in their first summer after they
cool.
played their first season or into their first season.
Or what about this? The first time, wherever you are, and we'll figure out the technology later, wherever you are, when you do your first dunk, you're just transported to Vince's living room.
There you go.
And Vince is like, right? It's pretty wild, isn't it? And then you're like, yeah. And then I guess you just keep dunking because you're cool. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, Randall, I can't seem to find the Raptors schedule right now, but I think I know the 8 games. So I know we're playing the Lakers, the Sixers, the Bucks, the Celtics. I believe we're also playing the Heat, the Rockets. Oh, are you looking at it right now?
Yeah. So the order is Lakers, Heat, Magic, Celtics, Grizzlies, Bucks, Sixers, and then finish it off with the Nuggets. No Rockets.
Oh, no Rockets. Okay.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel like that's a hard schedule? Like what's that schedule kind of like mean to you? Or you're like, who cares? Let's just start playing.
No, I think it's a hard schedule, but I think it's good for us. I think the only risk is that if we lose our spot against Boston,
Mm-hmm.
and that will
hold on to that 2 seed.
Right. So that's the only concern. But I think overall, hard schedules are good in the long run, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, I predict somewhere around a 4-4 or 4-5 is what's going to realistically happen.
Yeah. I know. I'm not sure I'm feeling like 6 wins either. I think I'm in like the 5 win range there. I also feel like I would expect Nurse of all coaches to say like, hey, guess what? The first 2 games, everyone plays 10 minutes. Like, I think he's really just going to be like, no one's getting hurt in this first game. And that's a guarantee. Like we'll get blown out by 50 points, but nobody's getting hurt.
Will hurt or like to get used to playing at that kind of level again too, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Just to kind of toss them all in the deep end, like your mean uncle.
yeah, maybe they need a mean uncle.
It's gonna be
Honestly, if you're trapped in a bubble, bring in the mean uncle, right?
it's gonna be interesting to
pool.
see how all their Aura rings are working.
Oh yeah, the Aura smart rings.
Yeah, I looked them up. They're 300 American. So much.
You have to probably take those off before you get in the pool.
Yeah, they're not waterproof. That would be hilarious.
Although a weird little just weird little side note, because you brought up those rings, Matt. Gasol was one of the first players to start wearing, I forget what they call it, but there's like those wrist things that measure a bunch of stuff.
It's a Fitbit,
and I think it's a golfer, Rory McIlroy or something like that. But this thing that he was wearing detected COVID in his sleep. From the disruption of his breathing.
Whoa.
So I think there's the like Orwellian Big Brother, like, oh no, smart rings. But then I think there's the other aspect of it is like, is this thing going to detect if I go up 1 decimal and I'm starting to have a fever in my sleep? Because if so, that's kind of good.
Yeah. Seems like the two things that they monitor your heart rate and your temperature. So
and your proximity, but only to another person wearing the ring.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's like the most like class-based thing I've ever heard. That person's not alive.
And like coaches, it's mandatory for coaches and coaching team staff, but it's optional for players.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. No, I don't see any logistical problems ahead. Yeah, let's Wait, Katie, did I ask you about how you feel about the schedule?
No, but I mean, I don't feel incredibly strongly about it. I think it's good. I'm kind of happy to not start with the Celtics because I agree. Like, I don't want to lose to them, and I don't think it would be great to lose their spots. So to start with those two first, I think is good. Like really, like warm everybody up, get everybody ready. But I'm like more than I don't know that they will struggle because it will be difficult to like remember how to play in this at this level, because I think so much of that is like intuitive to them. Right. Even though they've been out of the swing of things, I think it will be weird and more difficult to play in those surroundings, to be honest.
Oh, totally. Because it's going to be like, what are their workout rhythms like? What are their, what's the atmosphere going to be like in the stadium?
Yeah.
I think so many things, like obviously it's hard to get comfortable as a basketball player. And I think, we're all, as fans, we're getting fooled when we see someone who's very calmly hitting a free throw with an arena screaming at them. But yeah, like I'm super curious about that too. Like, just like, are they going to be thrown off by the silence? So
yeah.
Oh, and are they going to?
Yeah, and I mean they're like creatures of habits.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, like I think so much of it is like even when they're traveling, they know these arenas that they're visiting, and they know sort of the routines that are built into that. I mean, when the NBA announced like the way it was sort of scheduling like its quote home team, like away team, how like the visiting team would have one less hour of like free time. And the home,
wait, is that what it is?
Yeah, the quote.
That's weird. I don't like that.
Team would have 3 hours of like downtime before a game, or just like the way they tried to stagger it. So it seemed like that's actually, because that would be how it would be if a team was on the road, right? But no, actually on the road, they're all there. So they're trying to like, I get that they're trying to introduce elements that make it so every team doesn't have the advantage, or it isn't an even playing field in that sense, and they still have some of that. But then I'm also like, but is that really necessary? Because it's going to be so disruptive already just being there.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's like yeah, I guess a Raptor fan, I'm like, yeah, we're the third best team in the NBA. Like, I want us to have like all of the advantages possible, but yeah, recreating the home stuff is weird when you replace it with other things. Like I remember that, there was a suggestion of like an extra foul or an extra timeout, or this free time one though, that's like deeper into the kind of like surveillance state aspect of this.
Because
like,
they can't do anything also.
Yeah, that's odd. Like, I feel like the next suggestion is going to be like, oh yeah, well the away team gets less therapy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, this is a bad route to go down. Like, or it's like, oh, you know what? The losing team, when they try and shut off their lights, like at night, it's going to like take a bit for it to work. You know what I mean? Like, just like literally.
There's like no hot water in their showers or something.
Yeah, like, yeah, this is a dark path even for us as like making jokes.
Just like the Hunger Games.
Yeah, it's getting more. Yeah. You know what though? That is actually a nice transition to the NBA. Matt, if you have an NBA sting, would you give it to me?
National Basketball Association.
Okay. Randall, I'm gonna start with you on this one. And yeah, I think I actually have to modify this question I was gonna ask you guys, because I was gonna ask if there's a tipping point or a tipping point to the cancellation of Orlando, and if that tipping point was the Brooklyn Nets with the announcements that Spencer Dinwiddie and DeAndre Jordan are both not going to attend Orlando because they have COVID. Mm-hmm. But also, I just read that 3 different New Orleans Pelicans have COVID as well. So I think like these team clusters seem to be, you know, if you were expecting a certain amount of COVID cases, like let's say, you know, you're a Leafs fan, right? Austin Matthews has COVID. Well, okay, he'll go away from the team and, you know, I guess return when he's healthy. Makes some sense. But when, you know, the cluster aspect of this is, I think, a new level of frightening. And, you know, there's also reports like Rudy Gobert still can't smell, and just other kind of like things pointing towards how little we still know. Yeah, I don't know. Is there I mean, let's just like assume ethically we're all like, you know, the NBA shouldn't do this. Mm-hmm. But like from a logistical standpoint, like what do you think potentially the actual tipping point will be?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I'm going to say one case inside the bubble is enough, but you know, it's not.
Right. So like once they're in the bubble, somebody gets a case. It's like, this is too scary.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, Silvers definitely spoke like if that happens, you know, the NBA is prepared for it and they're going to go on.
But he did also say, didn't he? He also said, he's like, if it's too much, we might have to shut it down.
Right.
Is that recently, Matt?
Yeah. He did say like they're prepared for that too in a way.
Oh, okay. That's good hearing that.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of like, yeah, we have an exit strategy if this gets like, I don't know, 11 out of 10 terrifying, because it's like 9 or 10, I think, right now. Katie, where are you at with like a tipping point? Yeah, I don't want to, you know, you already kind of said before, like I think we're probably similarly think that this really shouldn't be happening, but we know it might still.
I mean, yeah, I think it should be one case within the bubble, but it won't be.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's like the evidence of that is just like all the scrambling to sign, whether it's like sign their 2 ways to be like the 16th man on the roster, or just like shuffling around of like these kind of, I mean, I don't want to call like, they're not, I'm not the like, oh, the less important players, but just like the shuffling around in the recent days of just like where guys have ended up, because I think players are looking to like pad their rosters, which to me is also an incredibly gross way to frame it and talk about it, because you're basically padding it because of a pandemic and the like self-preservation of the thought of like losing some guys because they get sick and they can't play. So, I mean, I don't know, because they haven't really, like, I'm sure they've talked about this more internally, but it's just like what the protocol would be if a player did get sick,
right?
Where they like
how they would quarantine them. And
and if they found to be test positive after they've like, you know, on the day off of after they've just played a game. So then what do? Do you like pause the schedule? And then like, you know, what if the team they played against is playing again the next day? Like there's so much of that. I know they're getting tested a lot, but then you still have like the like falsitudes of testing and like false positives. And it's just like I think there's gambling so much on the fact that thus far they've had they've been so lucky to only have asymptomatic cases that we've heard about in terms of like players that have tested positive. And I mean, like the Rudy Gobert stuff is scary because it also goes to show that, yeah, like it's his, some people might be like, oh, it's just his like sense of taste or smell. But like, you know, like the larger implications of that are very scary. And just things like, we don't know anything about this disease. We know it can like impede lung capacity for like the rest of your life. And like the stipulation they did where the NBA like increased insurance basically for career ending injuries due to COVID and all of this, like, I'm glad that they did that, but the fact that they had to do that was like so messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the whole kind of like insurance aspect or planning aspect and kind of like, you know, crossing all your T's and dotting your I's.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice kind of like thought and a fun little logical path to go down until you kind of like step out of it for just a second, remind yourself you're talking about people during a pandemic, the likes of which we haven't seen in 100 years. So
and
like it's a bit insane.
And the like, you know, a lot of the coaches, when you look at the ages of some of the coaches and coaching staff, like these are older people. Right. Like, so these are people that maybe now they've been farther from players, but when you throw everybody together in this like quote unquote bubble, which isn't a bubble like at all, but you run the risk of like, what if one of your first serious infections is one of the coaches? What if it's like Greg Popovich? Like, what if, you know, I'm just like, what if
it's a ref?
Yeah. What if it's a ref? Like, what if it's like, I mean, you know, and it probably will be the Disney employees that have to work that don't have like, they're not going to be tested. Like they don't have those kinds of resources being given to them, but there's just like, I don't know, man. Like it's not just an optics thing. It's like an ethics thing. And that to me, like they can't really square that so long as this goes on.
Yes. And that's kind of where I feel like I've ended with, or I'm not ended, but like where I'm kind of at right now, where I've settled rather, is that I think it's a PR thing. So I feel like their tipping point is when a player of the right significance or a fan of the right significance or a group of fans of the right significance, whether that be in the NBA, WNBA, Disney, whatever. Like I think that, not trying to be vague here, but I feel like if there's enough protests at any given moment, like even just like going back to Fred's statement, hearing him say like, you know, if other guys wanted to, like he was almost there, you know, I think a lot of players were almost there, are going to arrive to Orlando and still feel weird. And I think that it's going to take like, you know, more than one person being infected, but I don't think it's going to take more than one potential tragedy.
Right.
Which I really obviously hope does not happen. Which
is such a weird thing to like weigh this all against, right?
Yeah, because we're not weighing, you know, a regular NBA season, right? You're also weighing serious things like an ACL tear or an Achilles. You know, that these are people's bodies and lives, and I think this is like, okay, this goes even way beyond that. Like hearing. Yeah, it's like putting on an insurance policy for someone to have a lung condition for the remainder of their life doesn't feel like it could ever squarely be built into a contract. Like that just seems too immoral to weigh. I'm basically repeating what you were saying. Yeah.
Now Nick Nurse did say he feels very safe in the bubble. Should we take that as a positive? Or?
Is that a quote today?
Yeah, I don't think it was today. It might have been the other day, but he did say he's like, I feel very safe, Nick Nurse.
Oh,
I guess that's
good.
So that's heartening, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like hearing that he feels safe. And, you know, I think like so much is made of, you know, you keep hearing like, it's a personal choice. It's a personal choice. It's a personal choice. And I think that is a way for a lot of people to like avoid responsibility, accountability, particularly like from the higher ups. But when you square it back to each individual player, you know, Nurse had to decide with his family or himself or whatever, if he was going to go. And I like knowing that he feels, or at least that he's saying he feels somewhat comfortable and safe. And I think safety is a pretty big issue right now. Okay, let's bounce to funny. We were just talking about the exchange of players, but yeah, Randall, I'm going to go to you. So I don't know if you heard the Clippers got Joaquin Noah, which anyone who was listening to this podcast the whole year, they'll know that I would always present the biggest weakness of the Clippers as their big man. So I actually think it's a pretty big grab. And J.R. Smith is replacing Avery Bradley on the Lakers. And I'm sure we'll hear about a bunch of other, I'm sure there's a ton more I'm not even mentioning, but
I do. I like that reunion.
What, the J.R. Smith LeBron?
Yes.
I know it's a fun one. They had fun together, and I feel like everyone remembers the J.R. Smith finals moment, but they had some good moments too, right? So sorry, my meandering question, Randall, is what's another team and what's another player that they should maybe add?
I really don't know. Like Brooklyn, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah,
the only player I can think of is Jeremy Lin, and I don't even know if that's even possible. I'm just like thinking about it.
Oh my God, the Raptors, Jeremy Lin. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, no idea. I was surprised about both acquisition.
I know acquisitions in general right now. Like obviously there's the existential dread aspect, which Katie was bringing up, but even just in general, you're like, oh yeah. Katie, is there any acquisitions you think maybe would make sense
for Toronto
or for any team?
I mean, Brooklyn will need to add someone, but I mean, no, not really.
Fair enough.
It sounds like Brooklyn's going to want to just, Brooklyn wants to get in and out of there as fast as they can, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say one of my absolutely favorite. I love him so much, Jared Allen. It was so weird to hear about DeAndre, which is a big reason why Jared Allen's minutes have been cut this season. And then I was like, wait a second, I can't be happy for Jared Allen getting more time in the bubble because the premise of why is so messed up. And then I'm also so worried for Jared.
I know, it's like there's no correct way to even have a feeling now, because it's like as soon as you have it, you're like, oh no, there's more to that. I can't be happy for Allen's opportunity because I know the other end of that is COVID.
I guess what I am more curious about, not like outright acquisitions, but if there are maybe if there's like a secret like shadow tier of acquisitions we're not even being made aware of, just if teams are getting that far ahead into like, okay, well, what if we lose, this many more players off our roster, are they just going to call up guys from the D League? Are they going to call up who do they have on their books, ready to go?
Vince is coming back
in the bubble.
I think I just want to, I can't really think of many players who want to rush to Orlando, but one person I think is nice and people like hanging around with is CJ Miles.
That's true.
I know he's not in the NBA. He can shoot. He's tall. He's cool. CJ's PJs. I think he'd be pretty fun to hang around with and he'd be a good team morale guy. It
would be a great time to bring Greg Monroe back too. But
yeah, the Moose.
Yeah, he's doing well in Germany. So I don't know that he wants to come back.
Yeah, and Germany's doing quite well as well. So cheers to the Moose. Cheers to the Germany. Okay, Katie, I'm going to stick with you. Who's going to win the championship? This boy. This is going to play out. It's all going to be safe, hopefully. And there's going to be a champion at the end of this.
Did we talk about this months ago? Did we do predictions?
I'm not sure. And if it was months ago, that probably felt like years ago.
It did. I still feel the same way, though I can't even picture the end of this, which I don't know is maybe a gut feeling that's this isn't going to get there.
Yeah. Were you, was it, I'm sorry, I don't want to, I'll let you finish.
Back. I was just going to say I always feel like it could be Toronto again. I'm not just saying that for the sake of the podcast.
Oh my God.
But I'm not. Thank you. I mean, obviously you've got the Lakers and the Bucks really gunning for it, and then you've got all these they're not even they're not outliers. The Clippers aren't an outlier team.
No, Clippers are awesome.
Yeah, I hate to admit it, but the Celtics are also not an outlier team.
Mhm.
But like you've got a lot of players like really got like not players, teams really gunning for it. So it's not like there's any kind of lack of options. But I really do think it can come down to experience, and especially if you're in this really weird, precarious place that's like so bizarre, and it's going to come down to in the bubble longevity and not getting burnt out and not feeling like extremely worn down by the weirdness of your new routine. I think the Raptors are very good at like playing the long game, not just because of last season and what they did last season, but in like a lot of tenure of the guys that are on this team now have like come through very crazy ups and downs and really like, dogged it out and have like stayed invested when like everything seems to be thrown against them. So, and you have like, of course, like postseason and like finals experience. And I think, that's still something. The Bucks are scary, but I still think that's something that they don't have and would work very well to their advantage, but we're lucky they don't have that. So I don't know. I don't think it's like being too outrageous.
No, I mean, I've been saying we've been going back to back, and I truly had never stopped believing it. And I agree with all of your points. I think that the Raptors are like a really good kind of, team when you think about like, consistency, camaraderie, kind of like IQ is massive, I think, in a situation like this. And for sure, athleticism. And I think the Raptors just have a really, really full package of a team. And, we saw earlier in the year just the amount of kind of like high IQ zones and just tricks they were willing to pull on people. Makes me feel like they're ready for a moment like this and that they're able to endure something like this as well. Oddly enough, I was actually going to say the Bucks, and I feel like a bad person because I agree with what you said more than what I'm going to say because I prepared it in my head. But no, I just think the Bucks are awesome. And I think Giannis is the best. That's like that basically is the main thing. And then I also think Budenholzer is going to make adjustments just enough. But if they play us, they'll lose because Katie's right. And Randall, if you don't also pick the Raptors, I'm going to be very angry. I'm just kidding. Who do you think's going to win it all?
No, yeah, I agree. I think the Raptors are going to win. I think
do you know? We're not pressuring you, right?
No, not at all. I think their story throughout the regular season was how well they produced with the amount of injuries that they have. And now that they got that long rest, I think it would benefit the Raptors the most. I don't even know. I'm not even up to date on who's still active with the Raptors. If there's still people who are injured or if everybody's good to go.
That's a good question. I don't think anyone is still injured. I think
they're all good to go. Like I think with Mark, they'll probably take it pretty slow just because of where he was when they stopped. But I think everybody is like, could be active.
They're going to say, Mark, listen, we saw the picture. We know you're a pro cyclist now, but we're still worried about your hammy, sir. Your hammy is a big hammy, even if it's like a thin biker hammy. So we don't want it to get aggravated. What about Duan Hernandez? Poor guy played like just a little bit. And did he break his foot? He had a really serious like heel injury.
Sorry, who's that?
Duan Hernandez?
Duan.
I think I said Duan. Duan. Yeah, that's not a name.
You always call me out on how I pronounce names. So, I'm just waiting.
No, please.
I'm just waiting for you to say Duan.
Yeah. Sorry. What's that, sir?
Well, he went with them. So, and this is another crushing side note. His daughter was born like three weeks before they left.
Oh my goodness.
So he's got to be away from his baby.
Oh man.
Anyway, sorry to put a real damper on that.
Yeah.
But I think everyone's healthy. They're healthy in their bodies. I don't know about their hearts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We're all doing the best we can. And I appreciate everyone's honesty. And I think we should we should kind of finish this off in a fun, silly, light note and do some quickish questions. Do you guys want to do some quickish questions?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
Oh my God. One time everyone's going to say no. And
No.
I'm just going to be frozen. Like, but anyways, okay. Here's how it works. I read the questions as quick as I possibly can. I'm probably going to stumble through them, stutter a little bit, might not be clear. Your responsibility is to answer as fast as you can. It's going to be a short one today. We just got 2 quickish questions. So we're going to go Randall, Katie.
Quickish question.
Amazing sound Foley from that. Amazing. This is top level stuff. Like if there was like an awards ceremony for podcasting, they'd be like, okay, we need an award for during a Zoom video, someone playing their own sound cue, timing it out just perfect, miming it. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Really turned into a bit of a director with the Zoom stuff.
It's high level art.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to go Randall, Katie. Randall, you ready?
Yes.
Here's your quickest question. Who will emerge as the breakout star of the bubble?
I'll go with Zion.
Okay. Katie, which Raptor is itching to ride Space Mountain?
Oh, gee.
Okay, since there's only 2 questions, well, you get to answer that too, Randall. Which Raptor, not OG, is itching to ride Space Mountain?
I'll go with Matt Thomas.
Matt Thomas.
Yeah, fair enough. And Katie, who will emerge as the breakout star of the bubble?
Jared Allen.
Who?
Oh.
Jared Allen.
I thought you said Aaron Adlin, and I was like, who's that?
Yeah, you see, you've never even heard of him, but he's going
Wow.
to break out in the bubble.
Matt, well, I might as well ask you, Matt. Who's going to break out as the bubble and who's going to break out of the bubble? No, who's going to have a breakout in the bubble?
Breakout in the bubble.
It still sounds bad.
I think it's gonna be. I think Norm. I think Norm's gonna go off.
Okay, and who's going to want to ride Space Mountain?
I'm gonna say Surge.
Yeah, Surge is a good one.
Yeah.
Okay,
But who
boys,
is
that's,
going to break out of the bubble?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Let's ask that. Who's going to break out of the bubble? And I don't mean sneak out. I mean like everyone's chasing them and they still manage to get out.
Dion Waiters.
Dion Waiters would be a good one. I'm going to say Joel Embiid. I just feel like he's like, I've had enough. Like
true.
Maybe the Sixers are right about to win the championship. He's like, guess what? Don't care. Pops the ball. And then he starts walking and people are like, you can't go out that way. That's where like all the danger is. And he's like, I don't care. And like people are like hanging on his ankles and he's just like walking out.
Puts on the Phantom mask.
I could see it.
Oh, puts on the Phantom mask. That's good. And people are like, oh, that doesn't work. Like that's not the type of mask you need. And he's like, I don't care. Cool. This is fun. Okay. Since COVID started, with everything going on with this Black Lives Matter movement, I've just been asking people at the end of the episode, if you got stuff you want to plug, cool. But you don't have to. You can just say something to everyone if you like. Randall, I'll start with you. It's also okay to plug stuff as well, just so you know.
Wait for my guitar videos, I guess.
Wow. I like that you're plugging for people to wait.
Yes.
It's like the main thing Randall wants you to know is hold up.
That's a power move.
That is a power move. Yeah. So that's what, honestly, just leave Randall alone while he masters the guitar. Cheers. Katie, you got a lot of stuff going on. Where can people find you? What are you working on right now?
I do have a lot of stuff. You can find it in all other regular places, writing wise. I mean, the easiest way is probably to follow me on Twitter at whatevs, which is WTEVS, and you can find all the writing stuff there. But one kind of nice thing of the downtime of the pandemic is I am a potter, and I've been able to get back into the pottery studio, and I've been using that time to make some things and raise money for charities. So I raised a lot of money thanks to a lot of generous people for the National Bail Fund Network and for Black Lives Matter Toronto.
Awesome.
But I want to keep that going, and I have some basketball related pottery ideas for things I'm going to kind of raffle off and do contests with. So I have my pottery arm, small business, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's called Weird Vessels. So it's on Instagram at Weird Vessels, but you can follow there to see what's coming up.
Cool. Weird Vessels.
I've never plugged that before, so thanks.
No, that was an awesome plug. And that's really cool. Actually, I'm really excited. I'm gonna me and Caitlin, where we were doing the it's like a Mother Earth vegetable-y thing.
Oh yeah.
But there's a new one that's kind of it's all black produce, all black farms, and it's called the Fuck White Supremacy box. So we're gonna buy that, and hopefully by next episode I can let everyone know how good it tastes and tell you how to get it. But that's it for the episode today. And thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks for Randall, Matt, and Katie for being with me here. And we'll see y'all next week.
Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.